and thanks so much for joining us today. I'm Carol Jenkins. The program is Black America. Our guest today is the celebrated dancer, choreographer, and founder of the cultural phenomenon dance company, Urban Bushwomen. Welcome to Jawole Willa Jo Zollar to Black America. And we want to ask the question, who exactly are the Urban Bushwomen?
We started with movement, bodies, limbs, shapes, rhythm, choreography. Then we became a movement, bringing to light untold and undertold stories of the disenfranchised from a woman-centered perspective. As members of the African diaspora community, tipping the balance of power in the dance world and beyond. Our movement, made of movement, is fervent and big-hearted. We are insistent and active. We are receptive and always learning. We are full of hope. We are Urban Bush.
I love that. I was telling you, you have such great visuals on your website. Go to urbanbushwomen.org. It's a treat. And a lot of it is you talking about the work that you've done, why you do it, and it's evolving into this major social action thing that we have in Brooklyn, because you point out, too, that you're based in Brooklyn.
Based in Brooklyn, yes.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Tell us a little bit about yourself. We always start by asking our guests to place themselves in Black America. Where did you grow up and what were the influences? I know Kansas City.
Yes.
Yeah.
I grew up in Kansas City, Missouri during segregation, 50s, 60s. And I came from a family that was full of art and full of entrepreneurship. My father was in real estate. My mother had been a singer and a dancer. So I think that was very much a part of the thinking maybe that I didn't even understand that was coming into me. And it was a time, some people think, you're talking about, oh, it's this mythic time, but it was really a time where the community, because growing up in an all-Black community, people really looked out for you. So that sense of community was really important.
And when did the element of dance enter your life?
I think my mother, because she had been a dancer, and she kind of poured those dreams into me and my sister. So we started taking dance classes probably at 4 or 5. It's about as early as I can remember.
But then it becomes a passion for you. Was your mother saying to you then, oh, listen, I stopped to raise you two. You better go out there in the dance world and do it? Did she encourage you to fulfill her dreams?
No, she didn't. She just exposed us to art, right, to music, because she was a jazz pianist and singer. So she exposed us to a lot of things. And I don't even think, I had a secret passion for dance because my sister, Donna, was always thought of as that's a really good dancer. So I had this secret passion that I was afraid to really admit, but I loved doing it, and we always danced together. But we weren't pushed into it, and in fact, I thought I was going to be maybe a pianist or an anthropologist.
Oh, well, there are your choices, piano or bones. No, history. Yes. But now you found yourself at some point serious enough about it to study with Katherine Dunham.
No, I never studied directly with Katherine Dunham. My first dance teacher, Joseph Stevenson, had studied with Katherine Dunham. And so he brought that information or his interpretation of it to us.
Right, so the language of that. But then your first company was Diane McIntyre.
Yeah,
I studied with her, right?
Yes.
I want to make sure I have these legacy teachers in order here now. Right?
That's very important. Diane McIntyre, I saw her perform when I was a college student. And for me, it was kind of everything coming together of her use of creative improvised music, often called jazz. And
I love the way you said often called jazz.
and dance and storytelling. And so I went up to her and I said, I want to be in your company. And so then I moved to New York and I started studying with her. And she really encouraged me in my own voice and my own vision.
To use that thing called improvised music, yes, jazz, and to use your body too, because that seems to be one of the things for sure that you're recognized for taking the black woman's body, the black body period, and turning that into beautiful dance expression. So most of the young dancers of a certain age felt that they had to dance a certain way, look a certain way in order to be accepted, but you carved out your own path.
I think I was fortunate that one of my major influences was the Black arts movement. And as a lot of that was about writers finding their voice based on the Black American experience, I started thinking about that, well, what is that in dance? And that means that I'm coming with my full self, my full body, and I don't have to really just be caught up in the image of the body and the way the body moves that Western European and Western American influenced, white American influenced dance really dictated.
So the audiences for that are receptive to what you were introducing as you began Urban Bush Women?
They were. The audiences really were accepting. What our challenge was is being in cities where there were black people, but they weren't in the theater. And we felt like we needed to have, that was important to have black people in the theater. So we started going out to really find people who looked like us to be in the theater.
So when you say to being in the theater, of being in a company and having a place to perform.
Yes, being in the audience, people who would look like us that would be in the audience so that they would understand the nuances. And you also get that talk back from black audiences.
Right.
You get that, you get that, and so that's important to the circle of creative energy between audience and performer. It's call and response.
Call and response, right. So you're out looking across the country looking for black audiences who will feel what you're doing and will give you the appropriate response to it. So tell us about the inception of Urban Bush Women. I know that you are the founder and the visionary. I love that description. We all want to be visionaries in our lives, and you have an official title. So tell us about the evolution of the company.
Well, we started in 1984, and I had no idea. I thought, I'll just do this. I'll do this creative work, and maybe in 10 years somebody will notice. And
You gave yourself 10 years.
I gave myself 10 years.
Wow.
And because I thought, well, I didn't have money to start. I didn't have a name, so I just thought it was going to be a long arc. But because we did our concert in the summer, and at that time there weren't a lot of concerts in the summer, and I wrote this press release myself, and Jennifer Dunning, the New York Times writer and critic, came to our very first performance and then wrote this glowing review.
Wow, talk about opportunity.
Yes.
That's fabulous. And
yeah, so we kind of shot out of the cannon, which was not what I was thinking.
So that was year one as opposed to year 10.
Right.
That's great. So, and then what happened? People started looking for you, calling you up? How do they find the Urban Bush Women for the next performance? What's the...
They would call other people who might know me, because there was no such thing as a website. And so we slowly started getting, performances. And in some ways that's a good thing, but then there's another thing. Like, I thought, well, I'm just still figuring it out. And I felt like the expectations were really high. Right. And we were kind of ragtag. We didn't have any money, any grants. So it's a kind of a double-edged sword blessing. So I think that the company went through a lot of kinds of ups and downs in relationship to really developing so fast, and the expectations, and at the same time being on fire with a vision of change that I wanted to bring in the dance world.
Now, at a certain point, and you talk so movingly of this on your website, at a certain point you realize that whatever you were doing, this is after, you talk about this up and down, but years of success and not so, where you stop and you say, folks, this isn't working. We have to do something else. We have to stop and re-envision ourselves and see what we do next. Talk a little bit about that. It was so moving to me that to hear somebody say, hey, wait a minute, we're going on hiatus.
Yeah, to make that decision was a really hard, brave decision. But I knew that what had happened, which happens with a lot of organizations, is the sustaining of the organization was at the center as opposed to the art. And that we needed to get the art back at the center of the organization to make that the sustaining force rather than just existing for its own sake. So we took a 2.5 year hiatus to really examine what had happened, how to get the art back at the center, what that meant in terms of our structure, how we needed to go forward. So we call it our strategic change process.
Right, and that, well, all along you had a social activism blend to the work that you were doing, but then it became very much more of that. Talk to us about that, because you're social activist dancers, creators, and you train people in that. So,
well, as I had mentioned, that we would go to places and we wouldn't see Black people, so we start trying to find them. And then somebody said, "Oh, you're doing outreach." Well, I didn't know that term, but it didn't sound right.
Right.
Because what we learned is that it's often people just having a lot of activities to count off how many things they did for grants. We served this many people, and they weren't quality exchanges. So we started really strategically looking at how can we change this, and we started using the term community engagement with a specific strategy. And then as we developed that, we got really good at that, but then we had turnover in the company. So then now we have to develop a new set of dancers, and we didn't have an institutionalized process. So what we created was our Summer Leadership Institute. And that became a way that every year we had a way to bring dancers into the leadership methodologies of urban bushwomen that are rooted in our principle of entering, building, and exiting community, and our work with People's Institute for Survival and Beyond, and their workshops, Understanding and Undoing Racism. Those are foundational to how we see ourselves in the world.
So it is going into communities and presenting. You train the people during the summer, so it's every summer you have a new class now.
Yes.
You're replenishing your dancers who understand,
Yes.
what you're after in the world. And then what happens? You send these dancers into the community and engage the audience?
Well, in our work, when we're on tour, we do workshops as a part of that, and we're also invited to come into communities, particularly it might be to address an issue or something that's going on. So we train the dancers to be able to, again, the analysis of racism, systemic racism, and how it shows up in our organizing, in our thinking, the manifestations of internalized racial inferiority for Black folks, internalized racial superiority for white folks, how that shows up, and even what we make in our art. That is foundational to how we think as artists, and it takes quite a few years to really get that, so that we're not working from a victim place, even though we've been victimized, but we're working from a place where we're telling a story that helps us to grow stronger.
Yeah, I was telling you before we started that I brought my young granddaughter to see you presenting some dancers, and it was very much that, it was more than dancing. It was telling a story and making a difference. This was at the 92nd Street Y a couple of years ago. So your work is everywhere. I want you to know what a fan I am of what you do. And if you solve the issue of systemic racism, listen, well, that is great. Well, we have a number. Talk to us about Train, because that's one of the pieces that's been created by the Urban Bushwomen, by you. Tell us, before we play the clip, what that's about.
Well, in college, I got introduced to John Coltrane's music. And when I heard it, I knew, I've got to work with this music, but I've got to be much more advanced than what I am now to take on this masterful music. So one night, I had picked up a book by Ashley Kahn on the making of A Love Supreme, and I started reading the book. And it was about 9 p.m. and about 3 a.m. I'm still reading the book. And I realized that, like your body starts shaking. And that's how I know this is something that's calling me to look at. And so Train's life, legacy, and music is so powerful. And I knew I had to respond.
You had to respond. Let's take a look at Train.
Coltrane is an icon. His work is masterful, and he changed the way that people thought about this form we call jazz. It's music that moved me very early in my choreographic dancing life when I was just thinking about being a choreographer. So I became interested not only in Coltrane's music, but the journey of his life. Right now, Walking with Train is conceived in 3 parts, looking at 3 different kind of manifestations of Coltrane's life. One section is taking the last section of a Love Supreme psalm and working with the process I call physical transcription and working to get the exact phrasing, but it would be in silence. Another section, I'm really looking at like how people talked about experiencing his music in the club, that it was muscular, that it was athletic. People had this experience of something intense and powerful and deep. So I just have questions about like, how do we find that? What is a world that we can create that doesn't try to replicate that, but takes a riff off of that? My original idea for making a new approach to a Love Supreme was to do new music and original music inspired by, but I thought I didn't want to use a saxophone because I thought the reference was too obvious. So I thought, well, what if a pianist took an approach that took each of those sections and the ideas of those sections, but really took a very unique and purposeful musical approach.
Wow, just beautiful, beautiful. You know, as a non-dancer, I can never imagine how people remember what to do, you know, when you're teaching them that, you know. I mean, what is that process? That was so complicated. And yet I imagine that the dances are similar, if not exactly the same, every night, every time you perform it.
Yes, well, I have help. So I have 2 amazing associate artistic directors, Shannon Judson and Samantha Speece. And Samantha Speece was also co-choreographer for this. But the dancers, we're trained to have incredible muscle memory.
Right.
And so once we get something in our body, we'll remember it. And we'll often remember it for years or even decades.
That you could do it a decade after you've done it, it's in your body. That's what my granddaughter, who is also a dancer, said. I said to her, we were watching something that was called 1,000 Steps, and in fact it was 1,000 dance movements. And I said, how do they remember that? And she says, Grandma, they don't remember it, their body remembers it. And that's exactly what, well, of course, for me, that's such a crazy thing. But you know, that's the dancer's body and the dancer's life. So now, congratulations, because we understand that recently you won a Bessie, which is like the premier award for the dance community. And you were telling me that so many Black women dancers and choreographers came up on the stage. Talk to us about that moment.
Well, the Bessies this year were really extraordinary in that I think the Bessies has made an attempt over the last, I would say, 5-10 years to look at how it was recognizing the entire dance community and not one specific part. So this year there were several awardees and nominees that were Black and that were Black women. So when they came up on stage, it was so powerful. It was so powerful to experience and witness.
And so many of them had come through Urban Bush Women. You had something to do with their success.
Yeah, we come through each other. They found me, and then I'm blessed by what they have given to the organization and to me.
Right, right. Well, let me just see if I can read a little bit of this Lifetime Achievement Award, not just a Bessie, you've won those before, but this is the Lifetime Achievement for forming Urban Bush Women in 1984 and bringing to the stage a complex, bold, and affirming vision of the African diaspora, for transforming and diversifying the field by developing new ways of training, curating, connecting, and lifting up generations of choreographers of color for a visionary life both on the stage and in the world. What an award.
Oh, thank you. You know, I think, you know, growing up in the Black community in the 50s and the 60s, there was this idea that you didn't just rise up by yourself, that if you were able to rise up, then you had to work to make sure that people came with you, and you had to honor those whose shoulders that you stand on. And I think that moment at the Bessies of being given the award by Diane McIntyre,
Right.
and then seeing this younger generation of dancers, it was so profound for me. And being able to perform. I performed. I came out of
I
retirement.
know we were trying to get that tape,
I know.
maybe the next time you're on.
know.
But yeah,
It was just such a magical moment for me, and to see the legacies being honored, which is really important.
and for women of color who are choreographers, I mean, dancers seem to be with Misty Copeland and other dancers of great note. That seems to be happening, but we worry about choreographers, women who can create companies, create dances, and have long-time careers. What special problems do you see there for women of color?
Yeah, well, Urban Bush Women created a choreographic center, which we launched last year, and that was to address the issues of women choreographers, women of color, in particular choreographers. I think our voices and the stories that we have to tell and the way that we experiment was not valued. We're bringing a different perspective. There's that quote, when the lion tells history, it'll be a very different history than the hunter. And
Wow.
so we're bringing a different history as women, as Black women, and the response to it by the mainstream was often marginalized. I was part of a project called 5 First Ladies of Dance with Carmen de Lavalla, Germaine Acogny, B.B. Miller, I'm leaving out someone, and it was 5 of us.
Right.
When I realized, I said, well, who are the next generation? And at that time, that was like around 2008, there were not very many names of Black female choreographers who were having a national presence. And I started to research and say, what is going on? And I think it's a very complex thing as to why we're not getting the level of attention that we should. But we know that when we look at systemic racism and where Black people land and where Black women land, we know that then that places us on the bottom. And so we've had to fight to get our voices heard. And often when there's a power structure that's dominated by white male, the stories that we have to tell are not necessarily deemed important or deemed worthy of funding and support.
Right.
So this has been a long
Sure, it always
battle.
comes down to the funding, right?
Yes, yes.
The elemental base of that, But there are two things. There's the color scheme. Is that, you think, still colorism in the dance world?
Oh, yes, in our new work, Hair and Other Stories.
Yes.
We go into colorism because it's absolutely at play. And one of the dancers in the company started to really kind of unpack that she was able to achieve more than some of the people around her, even in her own family, because of the way she looked.
Right.
And then others began to unpack who gets affirmed and who doesn't. And so absolutely, so we're delving into that in Hair and Other Stories.
Right, because I know that with the Misty Copeland, there's the Misty Copeland look, so if you go to some of the dance schools now, you will see Black girls who are in the school, but they all look like Misty Copeland,
Yes.
As my daughter points out, well, maybe one or two not, but they've found an acceptable way of looking and fitting into, I'm talking about classical ballet now,
Yes.
that world. So you experience that and are working against it and are training people to combat it.
Yes, and there are amazing choreographers out there who are doing work who are combating it. This idea of that ballet is holding on to, that the corps de ballet, the line has to all look exactly alike in skin color, in body type. I think it will fall apart and it is falling apart, and it's being questioned. It's not done yet, but the beauty is in the skill, not necessarily how you have to fit in and look. The beauty is in the skill and the rigor of the form, and that's what I think will come more to the surface.
We and from your lips to God's ears, you know, we want to see that on the stage as we move along. We always close by asking our guests to finish the statement, "The power, the strength of Black America lies in." What is that for you?
I think for me, it really was that sense of community, and that sense of community came from our legacy of being enslaved and how we had to stay together. So it's the past, it's the present of really understanding that we have to constantly examine and strengthen our practices, not fall into the traps of what it means to be marginalized, and then how you begin to act, and then how we envision a future. We have to have a vision of ourselves in the future that is powerful, that is strong, and that is articulated, for me, through dance in our bodies and in our stories.
I love that, and I love your words as well as your dances as well. So you're the visionary. You see that happening in the United States of America?
I think, I think to encourage vision is our work, because we can train managers and leaders, but to encourage vision means that you have to really listen and that you have to support in a very different way, and that's our work.
And that's your work. And thanks so much to Jawole Willa Jo Zollar, founder of the Urban Bush Women, and thanks to you out there for joining us today. I'm Carol Jenkins. The program is Black America, and we'll see you the next time.